to your comfortable seat. And notice that word your. Super important. As we settle into the practice that is ultimately ours, that we find a practice that is healing. I mean, really, that's the ultimate of yoga. The word means union. So you're bringing those disparate parts of yourself into unification, into one picture, where you learn that where we hold tension and tightness is sometimes as much as in the body as it resides in the mind. And so we use our yoga practice to try to unravel those tensions of ourselves. So this week we are doing pranayama, which I've learned recently is not actually a pranayama, it's a kriya. Not that that makes any difference to you, but it's actually a prep for pranayama. But it's a super powerful breath practice, and so I love to teach it. And this week we're thinking about the central channel of our body, the Shushumna Nadi. And Shushumna in yoga means most precious. So we're focusing a lot of our work this week around that central channel. So the breath practice today is that you find your seat and you make your spine nice and upright. So you find the length in your spine that's even. And what I mean by that is the front of the spine is as long as the back of the spine. And most of us will find that our front spine is a little bit longer, more open than the back of the spine. So if you looked at a skeleton, you notice that each vertebra is stacked equally. That means that the discs are ideally equally thick all the way around, except for one. There's one and it's down in, I think, S2. That's shaped a little bit like a wedge. So there's where we get the pelvic tilt, where it allows for that disc to have a little bit different shape. But the rest of them are equidistant, left, right, and front and back in an ideal body. So we just take this moment as we sit here to find that uniform length as best as we can. And we breathe deeply, inhaling and exhaling. And we'll take a few more breaths here just to keep settling in and drawing our mind into our mind body. And to begin to just kind of move from wherever you came from, even if it wasn't very far, it was still a different energetic place than this place in our yoga mat, where we just take the time to pause and focus on healing practices. So this first breath practice, this kriya, is called Nadi. You take your hands and you make a fist. And you feel the first two fingers, the pointer finger and the middle finger, into the mound of the thumb. You keep that, but you extend the thumb, you extend the pinky, and you extend the ring finger. And you try as best you can, and in all these practices, trying is more important than the perfection of it, but you try to have the pinky finger and the ring finger equidistant, the edges of them are in the same plane. And then you, without tilting your head down, you keep your spine long, you bring your hand right up to your face. And you can do this left or right-handed. If you happen to be left-handed, feel free to transpose that into your left hand. And you want to make sure that your head doesn't tilt to the side your hand is. So the hand migrates right to the center line of the body. And then we take a nice big deep inhale through both nostrils. And we exhale out through both nostrils. And then we use that ring finger and we gently plug the left nostril right above the wing of the nose, and we inhale through the right nostril. And then you switch the plug so the thumb comes right above the wing of the nostril and you exhale left. You'll stay there for the inhale. And then you switch ring finger, pinky finger, plug, exhale right. Inhale right. Switch the plug. So you always switch and then you exhale. And then you inhale. And then you switch before you exhale. And you keep going. Switching before that exhale. And you continue as I just give a little description or a few more pointers so you keep that breath practice going. The spine is still long. The head is centered on the body. You're not pressing so hard that you're deviating the nose or the septum. You're just pressing enough to breathe out and breathe in through the other nostril. And in normal life, we only breathe through one nostril at a time. And so this basically speeds up a normal process. So normally we spend 2 to 4 hours of our day breathing through one nostril, and then we shift and breathe through the other one, unless you have an impaction of some sort. And so this practice does a lot of different things. One is it speeds up that process to bring balance into our breath, into our body. But in yoga, we also say that there's 2 nadis, 2 channels that go up the body. One is more feminine, one is more masculine, one is more expansive, one is more contractive. One brings energy up the body, one brings energy down the body. And basically what we're doing is we're bringing those into balance. So keep going with your practice. We'll do a couple more rounds. And breath practices are all really good for immunity. So whenever we can bring balance into the system, we're allowing for the system to rest and not work so hard. So you'll finish with the exhale through the left nostril. So wherever you are, keep going until you get to that left exhale. And then you'll gently release the hands, and we'll all meet together with inhaling and exhaling through both nostrils. And you'll just take a moment to notice if you feel anything. You may or may not. But just notice what's happening now in your body. Beautiful. And then we're going to remove the block. We're actually going to start on our backs. If you have a strap or a bathrobe tie or something of that nature, please have that handy. And we don't really need a loop too much right now, so you can just have a nice long strap. You're going to come onto your back, and you're just going to take that strap and place it underneath your body. So, or behind you, I'm sorry, because you're still sitting. And when you place it behind your back, you want to push it forward and back and find that place where the back moves the best. So you move the strap up and down to find out, where do I arch the most? Where is it the most flexible in my lumbar spine? Once you feel that place, you hold on to that strap around the body with one hand, and then you lay down. The knees are bent, the feet are flat on the floor. And you take that strap and just lay it out to the side. And you're just going to take a moment to press the back onto that strap. So this would be back flattening, which I say is not really a good idea if you're standing. But if you're doing core work, it's not a bad idea. And so if you were to press your belly button down onto the back, you would not be able to pull that strap out. So I want you to try to do that. So just take a moment to see if you can pull on that strap. And if you can, you want to draw those abdominals down with a little more intention. And you can try both sides. And once you've gotten that kind of figured out, you bring the knees up into the chest. Your legs are at a right angle, and then go ahead and feel your strap. So I know mine just got a little bit looser. So I'm going to pull those abdominals down again. And I'm just going to feel that onto the strap. Then I'll take my hands up on my knees for bracing. And that strap is just there for a little kinesthetic feedback. So I'm going to press my hands into my knees and traction my hands up to the ceiling. Meanwhile, I'm pulling down onto that strap. And I want to feel myself start to shake a little bit and start to quiver. Notice if your chin wants to migrate up and shorten the back of the neck. If it does, just tuck the chin in a little bit, make it longer. We've got a couple more breaths. Push with the hands, push back with the legs, traction the hands, and try to imprint on that strap. Good, and release. Keep your knees up and take them around. And now you'll notice that you imprint the strap when the legs come towards the chest, and you move off it when the legs come away from the chest. And just enjoy this nice, sweet little rocking of the pelvis. It's the beginning of mobilizing the low spine. So we just breathe in and out, and then we'll go the other way. And again, noticing that sweet cat-cow movement. You might eventually be able to feel that one side of the back moves more easily in one direction than the other side, but you may not feel that today. You may be just feeling that rocking motion. Okay, now we're going to take our legs up in happy baby pose. So we take our feet flat to the sky. As best we can, we reach for our outer feet. If that's too much, reach for your outer shins or your ankles or your backs of your knees. You can take the arms to the backs of the knees. And you're just going to gently start to pull your knees towards your face. And you'll notice that when you do that, you get a little more adherence onto that strap. So take a cleansing breath here. And then I want you to see if you can actually tilt the pelvis here. You might have to release out of the pose a hair and see if you can bring the spine off of the strap. It doesn't have to be too far, so you're working more towards neutral pelvis. So once you've lifted that strap, that back off the strap, pull the belly in and up. And see if you can pull the energy of the belly all the way up through the face and out the crown, if that makes any sense to you at all. And that would be the inhale. And as you exhale, you pull the energy back down through the crown and see if you can translate it all the way down to the tail. Last breath. Bringing it up. And exhale, bringing it down. And then we're going to release the legs like that, but keep the knees up. Take the legs overhead and just shake them out. And now we're going to take the arms overhead too, and we're going to start to do wrist and ankle circles. And you're breathing, so really big, full breath. Be greedy with your breath, or be generous. Maybe that's a nicer word. Go the other way. Be super generous, because the more you breathe in and the more you breathe out, the more you accentuate that release of toxins and bringing in energy. So both the inhale and the exhale are super potent for you. Beautiful. Bend the knees, drop them to the floor. You're going to plant your feet down on the floor and just lift your hips up off the mat. So now you've got a little mini back bend, and your hands, if possible, are tickling your ankles or your heels. That's about the distance that your feet are from your hands. And you're just going to interlace your hands underneath you as best you can and rock your right shoulder and your left shoulder under. So you're more towards the outer edges of your shoulders. And you're just going to press the shoulders and the fingers down. And you're just going to breathe into the heart space as if you could lift your chest closer to your face. And we'll just start right away with a little back bend here. One more breath. Planting your heels down, see if you can pull them towards you and lift up a little bit more. Exhale, gently release down, taking your booty to the floor. Take a cleansing breath. We're going to do that one more time, but goofy finger interlace, so we get both shoulders to open equally. So we find our feet on the floor, we tickle those heels just so we know where they are, and we lift up. Now you might peer down. You can lift up your head. You might peer down at your knees for a moment and notice that they're not winging out, nor are they winging together. They're reaching straight out from the hips. Lay your head back down. Interlace your hands goofy finger style and draw your left shoulder under and your right shoulder under. And the feet are active. They're awake, as if they're bringing energy so that they can bring it up the spine. As if your legs were so magnetic that they could bring energy all the way up to the crown. And then the crown drops the energy with the breath back down through your feet. Last breath, just like that. Beautiful. And release out of that. Before you get all the way down, grab your strap and bring it out from underneath you. Let your hips back down and take your feet as wide as the sticky mat. And then we'll just drop our knees to the left for a little windshield wiper. Bring them up with an exhale, and inhale, drop them to the right. And we just do that with a breath. So inhaling left, exhaling center, inhaling right, exhaling center. And I challenge you to really feel the breath. Let the breath and the movement work together. In other words, you arrive with the breath at the same time as the movement arrives. So there's a linking or a syncing of breath and movement. And each exhale wants to bring that belly strong onto the spine. So if you still had that strap underneath you, you'd be imprinting it as you go through. Couple more breaths. Beautiful. And finish back to center. You're going to inhale here, and as you exhale, you'll let your left knee float into the chest and just hug it. And then you'll take your right leg out and extend it so it's just floating off the floor. Now here's an interesting thing about this, is you don't want the lower back flattened into the floor here, because this is mimicking a standing pose. So you can imagine your right leg here. If you were standing, this would be a pose. You would just be standing on your right leg and your left leg lifted. So you want a little lumbar curve. So lift up gently, but match that with belly. So you have a little abdominal work here without flattening the low spine. And then you inhale the left leg to the chest, and you exhale, you reach out through your right heel. One more like that. Inhale, left knee hugs. Exhale, right heel extends. Good. Switch sides. So inhale, bring the legs up. Exhale, bring right knee into the chest. Extend left leg out so it's floating just above the floor. Inhale, start to draw that knee in, but have some thoughtfulness about your low spine. Notice that we want to have it lifted, but we want the belly engaged. So as you inhale, you hug that right knee. As you exhale, you extend the left heel. One more breath. Beautiful. And release. Bring the knees back up into the chest and grab your strap. You're going to take that strap. You're going to drop your right foot to the floor. You'll take that strap and you'll wrap it around your left foot. So it's on the ball, the mounds of the toes there, the ball of the foot. It's not on in the arch. And then I like to have my hands down so my elbows are touching the floor, because I find if I have my hands up here, I unconsciously kind of lift and put tension in the shoulders. So I want to have them down, but I can double wrap if that feels better. I can wrap my hands around. Just kind of take a moment to make that work for you. And then notice as this foot starts to migrate towards your face, your low back gets flat into the floor. So we're going to take this back so this stretchy leg is straight up into the sky, and we're going to feel how as that foot moves away from us, we get more arch in the spine. Okay, so let's go back the other way. We'll pull it in and let the spine curl, and you can see how we're doing sort of cat-cow. And as the leg goes away, then the spine arches. Neither one of them are perfectly right. So both of them are extremes at their opposite ends. So go back to a leg that's perfectly vertical and see if you can find the middle road. See if you can find that little bit of lift in your lumbar spine, but a strong action in the belly. Last breath there. Hopefully you're getting a little hamstring stretch. And then you're going to release your right hand from the strap and take it up so it's grabbing both straps. So you're holding both of them in your right hand. You're just going to rock over onto the right side of your body and let that leg come until it's parallel to the floor. The left hand is going to go straight out like a T, and you're going to imagine that you could stretch left fingers away from left heel
So you should feel, you might notice a little IT band or outer hip stretch here. The head can stay straight, looking up to the sky, or it can look over to your left hand. Either way, you're reaching your left heel away from your left fingers. You're reaching your left fingers away from your left heel. One more breath. Inhaling. As you exhale, belly comes back onto the spine and that leg flies up. Okay, now both legs are upright again. This time I'm going to switch hands. So my left hand is on the strap, both straps, and my right hand is on my right knee. And I'm going to take both of them out to the side to make like a V. And I'm going to exhale and curl up and try to make that V fairly symmetrical. So it's going to be common that one side of the V, wherever your abs are a little weaker, is going to want to go wider. So you want to keep them both equal and then lay back down, back of the neck long, and then see if you can open both equally here. So one's not going to move faster than the other until you feel that nice little stretch in your inner thighs. And we'll take a couple more breaths here, thinking about not only that lumbar spine, but the action of your core. Good. On an exhale, belly moves to the spine, and we bring the legs up. Beautiful. Now you're going to keep the strap on that left foot. The knee comes and migrates towards the outer left rib, so it's really bent. I'm at a right angle again. If I can, I do half happy baby. So now I have my left hand reaching for the outside of my left foot. I can unstrap it, or if it's nice to have the strap, I can keep it. And I'm going to take my right leg and move it towards straight and towards bent. So it's like a massage. So I stretch it out and I pull it in. And I just do toe taps. So I'm just pulling it in. And each time I pull it in, I might find a little bit more stretch in that left leg. And each time it goes out, I might release it. So I'm just getting a deep kind of stretch and massage into that hip joint. Okay, so be free with it. Don't feel like you got to be rigid. As you're doing toe taps with your right foot, you let the left leg pulse, move in and out. Okay, last one. And then very gently, you can place your left hand on your knee, bend that knee, and take that foot to the floor. And just take a moment. Knees can knock together. And just notice what it feels like on that left side. If you're really sensitive, you may notice your left cheek even feels like it's sagging in contrast to your right. That whole left body has now gotten a stretch. So we're going to make that equal with the right. So you grab that strap again, and you're going to lasso your right foot so that it's on the ball of the foot, not the heel, not the arch. And then you're going to start to move that leg towards you, and you can keep the knees soft till you feel the back flatten on the floor. And then you move it away from you, and you feel how the back arches. And you've got the strap to make you less vulnerable. So if you're just doing this without the strap, I would say that this could be a little hard on your back because you would have to be using your back muscles to hold the leg up if your abs weren't strong enough. But the strap kind of gives us a little help there. Bring that leg now into pure vertical and see if you can find that balance of lumbar lift and belly strength. And you just pause here and you stretch and you breathe. And if you can keep that lumbar curve, then you can bring the leg closer to your face. But if you start to flatten the back, then I would say don't do it. Take another breath here. Beautiful. Release it completely. We're going to take both straps in our right hand. So it's going to come up closer to the foot. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Take the left hand onto both straps. The right hand goes out to the side like a T. And you're just going to pull that leg across the body as you roll onto your left side until that right leg is parallel to the floor. And then you look straight up or over towards the right hand and you reach through the fingers and the heel in opposite directions. And you should feel something. You should feel a little outer hip or IT band stretch, so you be super mindful and careful. And remember that when we bring muscle energy onto a limb or bone, we are keeping it healthier. So we imagine that we could draw in all the muscle groups around that leg, even up towards the hip and back. And we breathe. And we keep reaching in two opposite directions for one more breath. And then gently using your abdominals strong onto the belly, you lift that up and come up. Now your right hand goes on the strap, your left hand goes on your knee. And you're just going to open both out to the side. And as you exhale, you curl up and try to make that V pretty equal. And just get to know, like even look at your belly and your hips and just get to know how symmetrical you have to be and how much abdominal support you need to stay symmetrical. But the body will like to go off to the weaker side. So you're going to have to work here a little bit, and then you try to see if it works for you, if you can go a little wider. And you just breathe. Combination of lumbar lift and strong belly and inner thigh stretch. Beautiful. Exhale, belly to spine. Sweep those up. Half happy baby. So I'm going to bend that knee. I can either just keep the strap there or I can unstrap and take my hand, my right hand, to the outer right foot and bring that knee in towards the outer right rib. And then I like to turn this into a little massage, especially early in my practice when I'm a little tighter. And I take that left leg out on an inhale, and as I exhale, I toe tap. And you can feel that little lumbar curl, and it's okay to let that be because now we're moving, we're not weight bearing, so it's okay. There's sort of a balance between that lumbar flattening and that lumbar curving. Here's the way we think about it generally, is that when we're weight bearing, it's really important to keep that, or when we're doing abdominal work. If we're just stretching and we're not weight bearing, then it's okay to be a little more flexible with that. One more breath. And then bring both knees into the chest. You're just going to hug them and you're going to curl. So you're going to try to bring your forehead or nose to the knee, and you're going to try to get your tailbone up to your heels. And the belly lifts in and down. So it's actually in and up, but in this position it feels like in and down. And you're trying to lift everything off the floor except for one vertebra. Last breath. And release. Beautiful. Drop the feet to the floor. Take a cleansing breath. And just take a moment to feel how the body feels a little more symmetrical, at least I hope. And maybe that right cheek now feels like it's a little more relaxed, and so does the right eye. Take your knees and drop them off to the right and come up to hands and knees. And our toes are tucked under, and our hands for this one are going to turn around just for a little wrist stretch. And you can do one at a time if that feels safer to you. Or you can do both at a time if that feels okay. And you just take a moment to stretch that wrist. Now note that when we're stretching, it's always really important to activate. So you take those hands and you activate them almost like you're squeezing a grapefruit. And you shrug the shoulders a little bit towards your ears. And you bring the belly in and up and see if you can melt the heart a little bit between your shoulder blades without losing the action of core. Last breath. You peel back slowly, so you're going to gently start to lift the heels of your hands and transfer the weight onto your feet. The toes are tucked under, and we just sweep the arms up overhead, bringing the arms into Urdhva Hastasana. Take another couple breaths, seeing how can I make sure that my front spine, my back spine, my left spine, and my right spine are all equally lengthened. I know you don't really have 4 spines, but I want you to get that feeling. Good, and then release forward, and this time we're gonna walk our hands out until they're on tippy fingers. So it looks a little bit more like downward facing dog. And I know my tendency is to let my belly drop and let my armpits drop. So I'm gonna have to work against that. So I'm gonna press through the fingers, pull the belly in and up, pull the ribs in and up, and lift the armpits as high as they will go. And breathe. And the sides of the neck lift up as well. And then with all of that, we try to stretch our hips back and our crown forward. Take a big deep breath as if you could pull the energy up the spine and release it back down. And then bring the big toes touching and sit on back in child's pose, letting your forehead touch on the ground, or you can stack hands or even have a block. And you just breathe here for a couple more breaths, feeling that stretch through outer hips and through low back. Beautiful. And then from here, we use our belly to initiate the action. So we pull it in and up as we come forward onto hands and knees and then swing the left leg through. So I did that with one motion. It might take you 2. And the back toes are tucked under. The hands are both on the inside of the right leg. And that might be enough for you, but what I want you to feel here is that the feet are strong and active and lifting up all the way, that energy, pulling it all the way up to the crown. So I want you to feel that there's an uplift energy. That's called, I think it's called Apanavayu, but I'm not sure. Apanavayu may actually be in the other direction down, but you're lifting the energy up that channel and you're releasing it down with the breath. Last breath here. We're going to keep our right hand on the floor and open the left arm to the sky. At the same time, we're going to kick that right leg back and try to go for a straight leg lunge, remembering that you're bringing energy up. You're actually trying to get higher away from the mat. So not only is that wrist lifting up, but so are your hips, and you're breathing and you're releasing. And from here, we'll just rock it forward and back. The hands can frame the front foot, and we'll step it forward into Uttanasana. We won't stay here long, so inhale halfway up Ardha Uttanasana. Bend your knees and take your left leg back to a bent knee lunge. You'll walk your hands onto the insides of your front foot, and you'll try to bring the energy up the feet into the legs, up all the way into the hips. So there's no sagging, there's no hanging on the joints, but you're uplifting here. And you'll just notice and appreciate those amazing feet of yours, the feet that the feet make. And then the left hand stays on the floor, the right hand opens to the sky, and you start to stretch the left leg long. And then again, you try to pull. It's like you're sucking energy up through your legs to lift you up higher and higher. The hips still get lifted, and you get more of a twist, and the right wrist is lifting up as well. Last breath. And then we release that down, frame the front foot with our hands, but step back this time to downward facing dog. And this is your dog, so I want you to bend one knee and then the other, or swing into the outer hips. And just play with this dog. Let it get into those places for you that are sticky or tight or that lack breath and energy. And then we're going to come back to a more standard downward facing dog. You're going to look up at your hands for a moment and see your thumb and pointer finger, and let the weight of the hands migrate more towards that side of the hand. And then from there, stretch like you're trying to reach your pinky finger longer than your pointer finger. And then bend your knees and let your hips pull back. So it looks like we call this squat dog. You pick the belly and the ribs up to bring them onto the spine so that the front of the spine is as long or as short as the back of the spine. Last breath. Exhale, drop your knees to the floor. We're going to come on up so that our hands are on our knees, and we're going to turn to the side. So now I'm on towards the back of the mat. This might be hard if your mat is facing me to see just as well, but I think you can. So I'm in the very back center of the mat. I'm going to swing my right leg out so that it's reaching towards the front right corner. My foot can be flexed or pointed, yogi's choice. If either of those are super uncomfortable, you can take a block and place it underneath your foot. From here, we're going to take our, I think I said my right arm, so I'm not mirroring you right now. So you're going to take your right leg. I think you're taking your right arm down your right leg, same arm as leg. The other hand reaches up and over. And you get that nice long stretch through the left side of your body that opens up that whole channel. Breathe. Just notice if you're putting any tension in your shoulders, like if unconsciously one of your shoulders is squeezing forward. If it is, try to relax it back. Last breath. Breathing through that whole left side from foot to finger. And then root down and come on up. And you can kind of mashed potato that foot in as best you can to stand on the knees. Now, if this is super uncomfortable on your knees, I should have said before, put a blanket underneath it, but I forgot. So come on up and swing your other leg, and I'm thinking it's probably your left because I forgot to mirror. And then if you need to, a block underneath your foot to feel super steady, or it could be a zafu, a cushion, something of that nature. The left hand drapes down, and usually when I hit the knee, I just touch base with it, making sure I'm not locking it. It's really easy to just lock that knee down. So you're going to lift it, micro bend it a little bit. And then the right hand comes up overhead. And we imagine that right foot is lifting energy all the way up to the right fingers. And we just keep breathing here. Imagine you're pulling your breath up and you're releasing your breath down. One more breath. And then root down to rise. Beautiful job. Mashed potato that foot in. Bring your knees in and just sit back for a moment. Hands in your lap. Take a cleansing breath. All right, we're going to come to hands and knees here. You could be on the long side of your mat, so I'm doing the short side so that I'm facing you, but you could be wherever you can easily see me. So I'm going to keep my right hand down on the floor, and I'm going to inhale my left arm out to the side. Now I want to make sure that my right hand is face down. So here's what we often do, is we turn that hand to face back behind us, and we internally rotate the shoulder. That's really hard on the shoulder. So I want you to have the hand face down or even slightly forward. And then you're going to press down with the standing hand and just work to open the rib cage. So I'm not trying to let my hips go really kittywampus. They're staying pretty steady. And I'm using the feet strongly to draw energy up the body as I'm opening up those shoulders and trying to bring the shoulder blades towards the back. One more breath, and over time, you'll get those deeper muscles that'll wake up. Good. And relax. And you should have felt that behind your left shoulder blade. Take a cleansing breath. You can look up like a cow tilt. Exhale, you can look down like a cat tilt. Let's try second side, neutral spine. I'm standing on my left hand.
I'm going to open my right arm to the sky. I'm going to notice if it wants to turn behind me. I'm going to turn it either face down or even face to the front. And I'm going to just work to open that arm, to squeeze shoulder blades on the back. I'm trying to keep my hips fairly level. And I'm letting my neck be neutral as best as it can. And I'm really squeezing those muscles that open and put the shoulder blades on the back. And then release. Beautiful. Bring the big toes touching, knees wide apart, child's pose. Sit on the back. One more breath here. Inhale, come on up. Come all the way carefully onto the belly. You might have to come onto forearms first and then ease your way down. And we'll just be here in a really sweet Sphinx pose for a little bit, but with a slight variation of toes tucked under. Actually, let's just tuck one under. And let's have the top of one foot and the toes tucked under on the other. I'm going to move that block to make sure you can see me. There we go. All right. And I want you to use that leg that's tucked under to bring muscle energy up into the booty. So remember, you're just trying to pull that energy up the back. And you might notice that there's a little action happening around the lumbar spine. I want you to narrow the waistline on that side and try to feel a little more of that muscle awakening. One more breath. And then release that out and just take a cleansing breath. Now you'll notice, if you're one of my scoliosis people today, notice if that feels better for you right now or not so good. So you're going to do a little study here to see which side needs more of that action. So we're going to take the other foot and tuck it, and we're going to start to push or pull energy up that leg. I'm even bringing my knee off the floor, and I'm trying to pull that energy all the way up into the lumbar spine and even narrowing the waist on that side, trying to let the muscles learn. So with scoliosis or spinal imbalances, those muscles get lazy, they move away from the spine. So we're trying to teach them to come in. Good, one more breath, hugging, pulling that energy all the way up into the booty, and then releasing. Notice how that feels. And then here's your choice. You either go back to the side that felt really good, or you do both. And again, you press through those legs and you try to bring that muscle energy all the way up the back into the butt. You want the butt to be awake. You want it to be, you don't want it to be hard, but you want it to be firm and awake. And then you pull in the belly to match that. And we're just beautifully pumping energy into the fronts of the discs, which get a little squeezed. So we're doing a little opposite here, and we're using our legs to power the practice. And then go ahead and release on down, and just take your hands and rest them on your stacked hands. And you're going to start to rock left and right. This is called lymphatic rocking. This is our final pose, our second to final pose before a little corpse pose. But you're just rocking left and right, and we do this for 1 minute. So go ahead and begin. You're on the timer. And if you get to a point where it seems like it's getting hard, you can always stop and rest and start over. And you want it to be as free as possible. So really let it be relaxed. Even let there be like a snake-like action coming up the spine. So you'll even feel it a little bit in your neck. You've got about 15 seconds left. This is shaking up the lymphatic system. It's like shaking up salad dressing, getting everything in the body to have an energetic flow. There you are. You did it. So just pause, take your hands down by your sides, turn onto one cheek or the other. Rest your shoulders forward and just close your eyes and notice how that felt or feels on your body.
And then finding the abs, like draw them in just a little bit. You're going to lift your head up and turn it to your other cheek. But I want to make sure that your abdominals are helping you with that. So go ahead and turn to your other cheek. And just let those shoulders roll forward and open, opening up the upper back very gently. Okay, from here, as gently as possible without disturbing your beautiful relaxation, I want you to try to roll onto your back. And we're going to finish up with not a minute this time, only 30 seconds of lymphatic rocking. A little bit different, harder to get used to, but in Shavasana with arms out in T, you just take your feet and you flop them out to the side at the same time. So it's like you're tapping your pinky toe side of the foot on the floor, and it's pretty vigorous. So you let it just go. And you breathe. Let your breath be smooth and steady, listening to it moving through your body like a beautiful wave. You've got 10 more seconds. Let it go. Try to let it be as relaxed as possible. And release and let them be. And let yourself just rest there. Feeling the aliveness, the sensation coming into the body. As best you can, let yourself hang here and rest. Let everything get heavy into earth. This is an important pose, corpse pose. Where you're feeling everything opening from that center line of the body. And it's like gently filleting out all your energy. It's just like moving to the outside, making you more spacious and alive. Less tension in the body. And this is where I leave you and ask you to stay here for as long as feels comfortable and useful. Don't forget to take a moment to express gratitude for the practice, for your body, your mind, your spirit, your organs, whatever you want to be grateful for, your garden. I'll see you next time. Namaste. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.